this video, we're going to show beginners how to use acrylic inks on a watercolour ground. If you're not familiar with watercolour ground, it's basically an absorbent primer that allows one to use watercolour or acrylic paint or inks. It has excellent lift-off, so you can create endless amounts of artwork with this technique. The inks we're going to use today are the Derivan acrylic inks, and we're going to use the blue and the sepia. Because this is a wet on wet technique, you need to wet down the surface first, and now we're just going to lay the inks across. Use a bit more acrylic ink. We just want a heavier application in the foreground. Now here's where the Derivan watercolour ground comes into its own, because lifting off is really easy. So this is just a damp cloth. Tipping it up to blend the colours together. And while it's still wet, painting in those mountains. Now we're just going to, in the foreground, pull back some of that colour. Keep turning the cloth so that you can get a variation of tone. And interesting techniques when you dab it like that. And drawing back in. What a wonderful line you're getting from that. Keep pulling back the lights. And keep working on that till you're happy with it. Now we're just doing those snow-capped peaks. And putting in those clouds. But you can see how easy it is to work back into your work with the watercolour ground. And getting those layers in. Now we're ready to put in some trees. So you can see what we're using here is one of Derivan's flat brushes, and the way you change the angle is the different lines that you can get. And now we're just going to start working on that background and building the form up a bit more by adding some more Derivan inks, Derivan acrylic inks. So now we want some darker colours in the foreground, creating like a real forest. And we can keep going back in. That's what's so wonderful. The lift off on the Derivan watercolour ground is brilliant. Getting those clouds just right. And now the last thing to do is just come in with a really fine sable Derivan brush and just put in a bit more detail. The last little finishing touches. That's pretty much it. Beautiful alpine landscape. To learn more about art materials and how to use them, we have heaps of videos with more uploaded every week. Hit subscribe and the bell icon so you don't miss out.